Hello, everybody. Good afternoon. My name is Mark Gosland. I'm the Thames Valley Cyber Protection Officer. I've been in post since March of 2018. My job today is to give you a very brief overview about how you can shop online securely and how you can keep your online accounts secure. So clearly, in the amount of time I've got, which is half an hour, it's going to be a very whistle-stop tour. But I want to get through that and then give you the opportunity to ask questions, either based on what I've told you in terms of advice or other issues in terms of digital security concerns. Clearly, we can't cover everything, but if you want to engage with me, there are ways you can do that. Firstly, you can either email me, Mark Gosland, Thames Valley Setup, or you can follow me on Yammer, the Cyber Protect Officer, or Mark Gosland. If you have access to Twitter, we now have a dedicated Twitter account, which is at TVP Cyber _fraud, also that is cyber fraud. And in terms of your own lives, if you represent any group or agency outside the police service, you'd like to talk to your community about what we're going to talk about some of these things now, I'm very happy to do that. Is that okay with that one? Okay, so the information I give you is from what is called the National Cyber Security Centre. The National Cyber Security Centre is the agency that oversees all security elements of digital security in the United Kingdom. It's been in place since about 2015. And they are now seen as the one source for all information. So after today, if you're interested in anything, go to the National Cyber Security website, type that into your address bar, and it'll come up. They've recently changed their website, and there's information now that includes families, sole traders, and then going on to businesses, charities, larger organisations, private sector, and the security industry themselves in the digital area. And there's lots of advice there. So the advice I'm going to give you is consistent with what the advice they're giving to you now. So we're talking about online shopping and also keeping your account safe. So the first thing is no element of priority. When you want to go and shop online, if you know the exact web address you can type into the search bar, that's good. If you don't know, certainly Google Chrome now is a web browser. If you type in the address, that will then take you to the website, and it will also tell you whether or not the website is secure or not. In the past, you may have been told to, when you do that, look out for the green padlock. That is now not the advice. The advice is you're looking for a site that starts off with the following, HTTPS, which means it's a secure site. And that will give you the confidence then to go online. Now, some browsers retain information about what your transactions are. They're called cookies, but also record passwords and stuff like that. At the end of the day, you are an individual, and you will probably know better than anybody what is your attitude to threat, risk, and harm. Now, clearly, as members of the police service, the threat against us is slightly higher than we normally have to the public. But let's not run away with ourselves thinking, oh my God, because I work for the police service, I'm going to be targeted. That's not what I'm saying. You just have to have a little bit more of awareness. So look out for HTTPS when you're doing that, and ensure that you are visiting the correct site. If there's anything wrong with that site, don't engage with it at all. Be very wary about that. If someone gives you a fantastic site to go and visit, do the due diligence. If something looks suspicious, you can go on a website called Hoax Slayer, and you can put in questions about certain scams that are ongoing, and that will also raise your awareness about what's going on. The next thing to do is when you are online or you're dealing with somebody online in terms of a sale, they will ask you certain normal questions which you accept. But if they start now asking you questions, what is your mother's maiden name? Where were you born? What's the name of your best pet? And things like that. That is additional information that's not required by the company you're trying to engage with. Because potentially it could be, and I'll use the phrase advisedly in this context, a phishing attempt to get more and more information about you because you've already entered some of your personal details on there. So just be wary of that, please. Don't give away too much information. But whilst we're on that subject, if you are on social media, that's Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, and obviously the police do regularly through the No Zone and other departments within Thames Valley Police give you advice every so often about your online digital footprint. Do review that, because if you've got information on your Facebook page that gives you date of birth, where you work, postcode, type of car you have, when's your birthday, and all these bits of information, that if someone wants to profile you as an individual, either for nefarious activity in terms of just scamming you, they've got enough information potentially to do threats take over, or they could try to sort of cultivate issues in terms of targeting at work and things like that. Now, again, please don't run away with that in terms of your perception, thinking, oh my goodness me, I'm going to be targeted. I'm just raising your awareness about these things. Please review your social media feeds. The next thing is, most of us have some form of smart device, either a phone or tablet, and at home we will have a tablet, either a desktop computer, Mac, Windows, or a laptop. All these devices connect to the internet, and they all have an operating system. You must ensure, A, that you log on, if it's your own device, certainly the bigger devices, laptops and desktops, you log on the standard or limited user. Why? Because what you've done, you've put in place a virtual gatekeeper. So out there's the digital world, I'm your device. If I'm logged on as the limited user, if anybody wants to do anything, they have to go through several factors of security. But the main one is adding in an administrator's passcode to do whatever that computer. If you log on as administrator, here we are now, this is like this. Okay, so make that clear with that. Next thing with your devices, always set up the operating system to do auto updates of the software. Why? Because it adds to the increased productivity of the device, that adds in also security. Around about 75% now of all updates for operating systems are related to security, whereas even 3 or 4 years ago, there was the percentage figure was considerably less. So for example, if a Windows device at home, they usually update every Tuesday or every other Tuesday, but sometimes there may be a critical patch that comes out. So do please ensure you have all your devices. If you've got a handheld device, usually it's either Android, which is the Google operating system, or iOS, which is the one for Apple. Please do update it. The dangers about having a device that does not have its latest security updates, that device is now more at risk, or you as a user are more at risk, because you're not having the latest software to offset any known threats, risks, or harms to those types of devices. The other thing you need to consider, just whilst we're on about devices, eventually they have an end of life. So at the minute, iOS is due an update in a couple of weeks' time to iOS 13, and there is talk, but again, you need to find out when it's announced, whether or not devices such as iPhone 6, 6S, and SE will no longer be supported. If that's the case, you need to make a decision. Do you then upgrade to another phone, or do you accept that risk and you keep using it? If you have a Windows-based device at home and you're running Windows XP, run to the hills. It's not safe. Throw it away, get rid of it, and get a new one. The reason being, it stopped being supported, I think, in 2014 and 15. It has had 2 critical updates since then, but it's not a supported operating system for a Windows-based device. Next thing, passwords, the bane of our lives. Years ago, we asked you to have complex passwords, and even in the police service, we need to have a fairly complex password, characters, numbers, letters, things. But in terms of your own digital life, for any devices you have, please have separate accounts, separate passwords for separate accounts. Do not share the same password over different account types or platforms. Why? Because you're heaping more and more oil onto the fire in terms of risk, because it's easier then to compromise. So the device is now 3 random words, and I would suggest you put either a number or a letter prefixing or suffixing that phrase as well. How would you remember this? Well, the advice now is either use a password manager, which you can download as an app. Just do your own due diligence by what people use. For me, personally, I use LastPass, but there's others just as good out there, 1Password, Dashlane, etc. Some of them are free, but they're very limited. Others you have to pay for. And with regards to passwords, obviously, please don't share them with other people in your lives. Having said that, what would you do, however, if you suddenly drop down dead and your partner, your husband or your wife could not access your account? There has to be an element of trust there, because at the minute it's a court case going through Apple whereby the partner of the mother has died, and she can't access her partner's videos for the children. So I mean that's very sad. And you have to go to court because Apple won't agree to share the information because that person didn't agree it. So that's that. Or if you want to write down passwords, you can do it. That is now the additional advice of the National Cyber Security Centre. Clearly, you need to keep those passwords safe. Turning now to a thing called 2FA, two-factor authentication. So imagine now I am your account and you set up strong password. if I am represented by a castle, we're all taught when we were young people in the medieval time, you'd have probably a moat. So the moat is your password. To protect the keep, which is the account, you need to now have another factor of authentication to make it more secure, and that's called 2FA. So again, if you visit the National Cybersecurity website, put in the search bar 2FA, as I've just explained there. Third down from the top, you'll see a person with a device setting up 2FA, and halfway down that page it says tutorials, and we'll talk you through all the major platforms. Do please invoke 2FA because you're adding another layer of security. So it's something you have and something you know, and that's what 2FA is about. We talked about using password managers and why that's important. When you receive an email at home, you can set up filters. So if you know you're getting a lot of junk, set up the filter and that will just go straight into the junk file, and every week you just go into the junk file, click all, delete, and they're gone. But when you do look at emails, even if it's from someone you know, view it with an element of suspicion, because the cyber criminals are becoming more sophisticated. The old stories about poorly spelt words, bad grammar, all that, they're still there, but they're becoming more secure, more savvy about that, and they're making their emails more and more believable. So think about it. Again, going back to what we said earlier off camera, we talked about if you get a phone call or an email or a text saying you've got to do something now, it's pressure. It's putting you under pressure to do something, and what they're doing is socially engineering. So be very, very wary. Do make sure that your device, especially your laptops and your desktops, have antivirus in place. The firewall is set. With your devices, Apple are probably more secure in terms of the operating system than Android, because Android is a little bit more open source, where people can add stuff. Only download apps from the designated stores. Do not, and the phrase is jailbreak, in other words, make your phone more customizable, because then you're reducing the security levels and putting yourself more at risk. But certainly with Android devices, you can also download, and with iOS, by the way, you can download additional security precautions that will scan the device, scan your Wi-Fi, and it will help you through that. Okay, so I've talked there for nearly 10, 12 minutes now, giving you all the advice I have. I will, through Christine, publish the PowerPoint I wanted you to see, which is a shame because it started off, and I won't spoil it for you, but when you watch it, is Alexa has lost her voice. Now, if you've seen that before, great. If you haven't seen it, I think you'll enjoy it. There is another one where two Scottish guys are stuck in a Internet of Things lift and they can't access it. That's even more explained, but I've decided not to use that one. But if you want to search that one, two Scots in a lift, that's a good video to watch. Okay, so that's that. So, floor's open to you all for questions.
I wanted to ask you about VPN.
Yes.
When you're in public places using the phone, the internet.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I've seen a lot of adverts on TV saying you should get a VPN, you should get, before you access public site. So places like hotels and Chiltern Vale, for example, where you can just log on to their sites, Wi-Fi, and use them. I'm wondering how necessary the VPN is.
Okay. Public Wi-Fi is just that, it's public. So we will also suddenly teleport ourselves outside now in a public environment away from the temporary place, and I'll suddenly take all my clothes off and run to the hills. Everybody can see everything. And that's the same analogy with your device connecting to a public Wi-Fi. The danger of you connecting to that is A, you don't know what you're connecting to. You assume you're connecting to the public Wi-Fi or Cafe Nero or whatever. But the possibility is that someone is spoofing that website or that internet address and device, even by sitting in a cafe and spoofing it. So putting a cloud over that Wi-Fi, and you think you're connecting. So what they can do, they can harvest all that information going on, and at a later stage use an algorithm on the device at home or wherever they are to look at what is really attractable information. So if you are going to use public Wi-Fi, and most of us either have young children or know people with young children or grandparents or ourselves, the first thing young people say is, what's the Wi-Fi code? Because they want to get on and do whatever they do. If they're playing the games and they're not sharing any information about themselves, it's just an online game that you trust and you know it's working, fine. But if you're starting to use things like email, banking, even with the banking apps, there's a potential if you're using public Wi-Fi for somebody with technical skills to potentially get in and find out more information. So don't do emails, no banking, no social media, nothing like that. Just browse the internet. Don't do any shopping. A VPN acts as a bridge or a tunnel between your device and the Wi-Fi that you're connecting to. So when you switch on your Wi-Fi, you also switch on the VPN, and that creates that secure encrypted tunnel. But if you don't have a VPN, it's open. Anybody, if they want to, they can access it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so you would recommend getting...
I would. I mean, I've got one on my device. I'm going away next week on a course, and my mobile signal is really bad there. But I know in my role, if I wanted to do anything, I would use the mobile signal because there's a secure connection between that device and the cell tower, like this. Whereas with a VPN, you get the same thing, but now through Wi-Fi, through a tunnel. If you don't have a VPN, it's not there. In terms of cost, well, there are various products out in the market. Do your due diligence, have a look. But they vary anything between £30 a year for one access. You can use that access for any device. You can only have one device on at any time. We pay £60. You can have 5 devices. In addition, if you go away and you want to use the Wi-Fi in the hotel, that's a really good thing. The cybercrime team have recently dealt with a guy who went to Hong Kong. He ran out of data. His dongle died, so he used the hotel Wi-Fi. You can guess what's going to happen now. He flies back. 13-hour flight, gets back, gets into work next day. All his accounts have been cleared out. Someone was trawling through what he was doing online in the hotel. That's the danger of it.
So does VPN work abroad as well?
Yeah, VPN will work anyway because it's a contract you do with that VPN company. But also, in addition to the other things, when we go away on holiday, we sometimes want to watch streaming content. So with a VPN, although you're in Zanzibar, you can actually say you're in the United Kingdom, and you're spoofing the service provider, thinking that you are in the United Kingdom. Now, the BBC have become a bit wise to that now, so you might not access the BBC account. There's nothing nefarious or wrong with that, but in terms of what I just explained about how you use it, the VPN is a really good thing to have.
Thank you.
I've got a really old laptop that I want to dispose of. Where do you recommend? What is the safest way?
Could you tell me, just to give me so I can give you a bit more information, what type of laptop is it?
It's a Dell laptop.
And do you know what the operating system of it was?
A very old Windows one.
Okay, so you're running Windows XP or 7.
Yeah.
If you're running, by the way, Windows 7, they stopped supporting that in January of next year. So you will have to upgrade to Windows 10. If we think about ecologically now about devices, there must be a means by which we can recycle these devices, because just to dump them, having wiped the hard drive, whatever, is a waste of resources. Apple, Google, they now recycle all the parts and stuff like that. So if you can recycle your device and give someone else use of it, provided obviously it's using a secure means, that's really good. The advice is at the minute is when you finish that device, you don't just put on the old operating system. So sometimes people, when they have a problem with the device, they go into the recovery mode, and rather than reformatting the device and having a fresh version of Windows put on, they just put a version of Windows back on. All you're doing is adding a layer of varnish to all the stuff that's underneath it digitally. So you do that. If you don't, and that would be the advice nationally. If you want to go a step further than that, there are companies out there you have to do due diligence on research and find out who it's called degaussing, so they actually eradicate all information on the hard drive. Or you take the hard drive out, destroy that, but still repurpose the device back into the recyclable chain. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Right. Still in silence. Can we talk, got a few minutes left, can we talk about home, your routers and stuff like that? Okay. Please don't think that I'm trying to worry you or make you fret even more than probably you are at the moment. But at home, your router is giving you so much access to the outside world, and that's really good. But how many of you have actually changed, A, the name of the router, and B, more importantly, the access code to get in access to that router? Probably either one of you or none of you. And that's a very natural thing to do, and that's very normal. What the internet service providers are doing now, when they issue a new product and service, they are not sticking the label to the back of the router, which has all the information about what SSID, the name of the router is, the pass key and perhaps the administrator pass key as well. They're having it so you can take it out. And they are giving you advice how you can change it. You can go online, you can do it. The benefits of this, let's assume you're in your home, and although you're plumbed into the hard fixed line here, you decide, because of the coverage for the house, you put your router here on the window facing the public road. Now, most of us would probably turn the router so the nice bit with the flashy lights is pointing back into the house. But unfortunately, the bit that has all the information is actually pointing out to the public street. If I was an offender, I would walk around streets and I would covertly take photographs of this. I'd then sell that information onto a like-minded cyber criminal who, on a very dark and dusty, nasty night, may sit outside your house, and they've got all the information they need to gain access to your home. So again, this is not to give you a sense of fear or make you really, really scared. It's just to make you aware you do really need to be changing the name of the router and also the Wi-Fi access code to that. In addition to that, consider changing the administrator password as well, because everything comes with an admin and user password. How many in the room? There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 11. How many of you last Christmas or in the last year had either bought yourself or had gifted to you a smart home device like Alexa and stuff like that? Okay, so 2 of you. Have you changed all the default passwords and access codes?
Yes, I did, because we've got a new router, so it took me ages to do that,
Okay,
to work it out.
And this is the dilemma that if you want to raise your security game, you have to invest some time and effort into doing it. And unfortunately, and I know this from a survey that was done by the government through what's called Cyber Aware, averaging people see security, online digital security, as number 3 in their to-do list. But guess what? Other things come into your life as naturally they do: sickness, health, money woes, getting married, getting divorced, moving house, selling a car, and those things go over it. And what we're very good at doing as a nation is we procrastinate. You put things off, you don't actually do what you're supposed to be doing. So if you want to upscale your digital life and make yourself more secure, you do need to invest some time and effort into doing it. So my advice to you would be, start with your devices, make sure that, certainly for these types of devices that we hold in our hands, you've got at least got a PIN or 6-digit PIN, or you use the thumbprint or facial ID to gain access. Because if I leave this lying around and someone finds it, they've got access to all my life without any form of security, because there's no PIN, etc. on there. Next thing, the device itself, make sure it's updated to the latest version of software. Then you need to have a Gmail or an iCloud or some form of account to actually run the device. You need to make sure that account is protected with a strong password, as we explained, in 2-factor authentication. And make sure you download all the software and apps and stuff like that. So those are things you can do, and we've already discussed that. In respect of going forward, well, remember the advice given about going out public Wi-Fi and stuff like this. I'd also say to you, please, that if you ever get a hire car, do not connect your personal phone to the hire car. Make sure your Bluetooth is turned up, because if you just click yes, or it cycles through it saying, I'm giving you 10 more seconds, if you don't, we automatically do it, all your contacts are uploaded to the hire car. You don't think about that when you leave. Have you taken all your contacts off the hire car database for all the information you have off your phone? No, you haven't. So the next person could potentially come along and find out information about yourself. It's a very easy thing to do. When you're taking photographs of your friends and family with your device, have you checked the permissions on the apps or the camera system? Have you turned off location data? Because if you haven't turned off location data and privacy settings for your camera or apps, they can be recording the exact location where that photograph is taken. And all you do, you copy that photograph, assuming you have it, go to a piece of open source software called XF Viewer, download that photograph into that. It does a very quick calculation, and it will show you exactly where in the world that photograph is taken. So if you in the room here, or people are watching, are going through a fairly messy divorce or separation, potentially, if you got out of that, you take these photographs on social media, you're potentially telling your ex-partner or someone else exactly where these things were going on. And if it was, I've just posted a brand new barbecue in my brand new house, and you've spent years trying to get away from this ex-partner, you see what I'm saying? So it's about It's about threat, risk, and harm. It's about where you see your what's called risk appetite or threat appetite, about that, and taking steps to do it. All the things I've told you about are doable, simple, and easy to do. Now, I've explained to you how old I am. If I left school with 1 O level, and I can do this, anybody can do it. It's about having the discipline and the awareness that, yes, we need to do certain things. If you do all these basic stuff, you can reduce the threat to you by 80%. Now, it's not me dragging a finger up here and dragging that figure from outside. That's what the National Cyber Security Centre. So, going forward, these are the places you need to go to get help. If it's internally in the force, me on Yammer, please follow me. Visit our Twitter feed. Also, you can go on the Cyber Protect page under the search bar, and you can access the information I put on there. Every week, I put the new cyber weekly threat report by National Cyber Security. That doesn't cover just international cybercrime. It covers homegrown stuff. Last one was talking about TalkTalk and the recent data breach they had. Or 2 weeks ago, they were talking about Instagram issue, or whatever that might have been. So there's information there. National Cyber Security is a really good place to go. Finally, if you become a victim, don't panic. It's easy for me to say, but please report it. You report it to Action Fraud, and you can do that online. And the reason you do that now is because you can create a user account for yourself, and you can see where your complaint or your complaint of a crime, of fraud, or cyber is going. So you can see in real time how that's being progressed. Or you can phone them up, and the number is 0300 123 2040. So you can do that. There is also other advice there, as I said earlier, individuals right up to security professionals. You as individuals, really good advice there, because it even tells you how to recover a hacked account. So say your Facebook or Instagram account has been hacked, it will show you and tell you what to do and how to do it. We now, in the cybercrime team, we get a weekly list, and I'm tasked to deal with all the cyber-dependent victims on that list. I contact them. Of the ones we've done to date, since just before Christmas last year and now, 80% of all the ones I've had to engage with have been because their account has been taken over, or they've been asked to do something through fear. So, 11-year-old boy was online and he received a phone call through his headset saying your account's been hacked. Why? Well, because he's had a very weak password and no two-factor authentication. Other people, students, etc., they've been out on the night at the time, they've done certain things, and their accounts have been taken over. So someone is now controlling their account. So please, strong password to a phone. I'm going to close there because that's a lot of information I've given you, and I don't want to saturate your head there. But please don't leave the room thinking, oh my goodness me, there's just no point in doing anything. I must throw my mobile phone away and forget about being on the digital platform. No, please embrace the digital platform. If you're worried about an online banking, if you use it on a phone or a tablet, use the 4G network, or you can tether your device to that other device if you want a bigger screen, and use the application. Banks ask you to do that. They are very out there saying this is the most safe and secure way to do it. If you become defrauded and they do their due diligence, you will receive your money back. A couple of days ago, there's a new voluntary agreement come out whereby the majority of banking institutions will now, even if you've made a mistake yourself, will consider giving you either all or part of your money back. But that's clearly a matter that's between you, the client, and then the service provider. Okay? So if you do want any questions, please file them up to me, and I'll do my best to answer them or point you in the right direction. Has that been of use to you all? Of help?
Yes, very much.
No, you're welcome. Thank you for inviting me.